The Cleveland Browns are staring down a crisis that could redefine the franchise before the season even begins. Rookie sensation Shedeur Sanders, widely regarded as the most exciting quarterback prospect Cleveland has seen in decades, has officially requested a trade. And this isn't some blown-up training camp tension or a rumor floating on social media. It's real, confirmed, and explosive. Sources close to the organization say Sanders isn't frustrated. He isn't unhappy. He's done. He's finished with the Browns as they currently operate, and he wants out immediately. The stakes couldn't be higher, the timing couldn't be worse, and the implications ripple far beyond a single player demanding a new team. What makes this situation extraordinary isn't just the talent at stake. Sanders possesses a generational arm, elite processing speed, and a football pedigree built under the guidance of his legendary father. The Browns drafted him as a franchise cornerstone, a long-term solution meant to end years of quarterback mediocrity. Instead, insiders report that head coach Kevin Stefanski's stubborn refusal to deploy Sanders properly has pushed the rookie to the breaking point. Micromanaging every practice rep, adhering rigidly to outdated development timelines, and seemingly ignoring the immediate impact Sanders could have on the field has left the young quarterback with no choice but to demand action. This is more than a coaching disagreement. It's a public, organizational meltdown waiting to explode. According to multiple sources, the confrontation came during what was supposed to be a routine offensive meeting. Witnesses describe the event as emotional, shocking, and utterly chaotic. Sanders delivered his message with remarkable clarity and composure. If the coaching staff will not trust him to perform, he demanded they trade him to someone who will. The reaction was immediate and destructive. Reports claim Stefanski slammed his tablet onto the table, shattering technology, and stormed from the room, muttering furiously, leaving the entire facility stunned. Players wandering the hallways were left in disbelief, witnessing the complete disintegration of coaching authority in real time. This wasn't just a confrontation, it was a public implosion, one that insiders warn could mark the start of a full-scale organizational crisis. Fans and media alike have erupted. Social media is ablaze with debates, viral posts, and urgent calls for the Browns to either fix this relationship immediately or risk losing a once-in-a-generation talent. Analysts like Shannon Sharpe and Stephen A. Smith are publicly questioning the organization's handling of Sanders, describing it as malpractice and leadership failure. In less than a day, the story has grown into a national spectacle, with multiple NFL teams reportedly already contacting Cleveland about trade possibilities, recognizing a rare opportunity to acquire a franchise quarterback without the traditional draft price. And yet, despite the media storm, the tension inside the Browns facility is escalating even faster. Sanders' silence is louder than any statement. His quiet ultimatum has forced everyone in the building and across the league to reckon with the reality that a rookie with unprecedented talent and influence is now calling the shots. The clock is ticking, the trade deadline looms, and Cleveland fans are bracing themselves for a scenario they've feared for decades. A generational quarterback slipping away, not because of talent, but because of organizational dysfunction. A confrontation that set this crisis in motion reportedly occurred during what was scheduled as a routine offensive adjustments meeting, a session that should have been procedural, calm, and focused. Instead, what unfolded has left multiple insiders describing the scene as explosive, surreal, and unprecedented in Browns history. Shedeur Sanders, rookie quarterback and the team's brightest long-term hope, confronted head coach Kevin Stefanski with a clarity and intensity that stunned everyone in the room. According to sources present, Sanders' words were simple, precise, and devastating. If the coaching staff would not trust him to perform at his highest level, he demanded to be traded immediately to someone who would. If you're enjoying this video and loving the content, don't forget to give us a big thumbs up. It really helps us know what you want to see more of. And why keep all the excitement to yourself? Share this video with your friends, family, or anyone who loves NFL drama. Witnesses describe Sanders' delivery as remarkable for its composure. There was no shouting, no theatrics, no hesitation, just a clear ultimatum, spoken with the confidence of someone who knows his worth and refuses to settle for mediocrity. The room reportedly fell silent for several seconds after he finished speaking, the kind of silence that feels heavy, electric, and impossible to ignore. And then chaos erupted. Stefanski's reaction, according to multiple sources, was explosive. He allegedly slammed a tablet violently onto the conference table, sending technology shattering across the floor. His voice reportedly cracked with barely controlled anger as he shouted about earning one's spot, storming from the room with the door crashing behind him. Players throughout the building heard the confrontation, packing footsteps, furious muttering, the unmistakable sounds of authority disintegrating in real time. Veteran players later described the scene as a breaking point. The moment the quarterback said enough was enough, and the coach's control visibly unraveled. This wasn't just a clash of personalities, it was a collision of philosophies. Sanders, guided by both innate talent and decades of mentorship under his legendary father, operates with precision, focus, and an expectation that opportunity will meet preparation. Stefanski, sources suggest, clings to outdated developmental timelines and micromanagement techniques that have failed to adapt to the modern quarterback era. For Sanders, the stakes are clear. His prime years are limited, his potential unmatched, and he refuses to watch time slip away under a system that refuses to unleash his full capabilities. The impact of the confrontation didn't end in the meeting room. Insiders say word spread instantly throughout the facility, leaving staff scrambling to contain what was rapidly becoming a full-scale organizational emergency. Teammates wandered hallways stunned, trying to process what had just happened. One anonymous veteran described it bluntly. "You could feel it. That was the breaking point. He's done being quiet." The tension wasn't just about a single statement. It was about the cumulative weight of months of frustration, unutilized talent, and a rookie forced to fight for what should have been his opportunity from day one. And while the room itself was chaotic, the implications were already spilling beyond Cleveland. Social media chatter skyrocketed, media outlets began dissecting every word, and league insiders immediately recognized that this was not a typical quarterback controversy. This was a young star asserting control, a coach losing authority, and an organization teetering on the edge of public meltdown. What started as a single confrontation was quickly evolving into a full-blown crisis, a storm that would shake the Browns, divide the locker room, and attract the attention of every team in the NFL. The repercussions of Sanders' confrontation didn't stop at shattered tablets and a stunned locker room. They rippled through the entire Cleveland Browns organization, exposing dysfunction that insiders say has been simmering for years. What was initially a private clash became a public spectacle almost instantly, as news of the rookie's trade demand spread like wildfire. Within hours, the media, fans, and league executives were analyzing every detail, debating what it all meant, and predicting the inevitable fallout. The Browns, long accustomed to quarterback instability, suddenly faced a crisis that threatened to overshadow the entire season before it even began. At the center of the storm is Kevin Stefanski, whose rigid coaching style and reluctance to trust Sanders reportedly sparked the entire conflict. Sources claim he obsessively micromanages practice reps and adheres to outdated development timelines, prioritizing process over immediate readiness. For a quarterback of Sanders' caliber, this isn't just frustrating, it's unacceptable. By refusing to deploy his top talent properly, Stefanski has not only risked losing a future superstar, but has also shaken the foundation of trust within the organization. The fallout is not limited to coaching philosophy. It's shaking confidence at every level, from front office executives to players on the field. The Browns' front office, caught off guard by the intensity of Sanders' ultimatum, reportedly scrambled to contain the situation. Emergency meetings were called, advisors consulted, and scenarios analyzed, all in an effort to prevent what insiders describe as a complete organizational implosion. Owner Jimmy Haslam is said to have intervened personally, demanding explanations from Stefanski and the general manager. questioning how a situation like this could arise before the regular season even starts. According to sources, frustrations ran high, with the leadership struggling to reconcile a generational talent's needs with a coaching philosophy that may be fundamentally incompatible. Meanwhile, the media and fans seized on every detail, turning the Browns' internal conflict into a nationwide spectacle. Social media erupted with viral posts declaring Sanders deserves better, criticizing Stefanski, and calling for immediate action. Analysts on major networks framed the confrontation as evidence of deep organizational failure, noting that this isn't just about a single rookie clashing with his coach. It's a symptom of systemic mismanagement. Conversations about trades, locker room divisions, and potential chaos began dominating sports media cycles, elevating the situation from a team issue to a league-wide talking point. Even within the locker room, the fallout was immediate. Players reportedly rallied privately around Sanders, showing quiet support while attempting to avoid further complications publicly. Veterans who have witnessed organizational mismanagement over the years saw familiar patterns repeating. A talent arrives, potential is squandered, frustration builds, and the team faces consequences long-term. The chemistry that holds a team together began showing cracks, as loyalty, trust, and respect were tested in real time. The fallout has extended far beyond the Browns' facilities. League executives are monitoring the situation closely, recognizing a rare opportunity, acquiring a generational quarterback without the usual draft capital investment. Rumors of interested teams, including Denver, Las Vegas, and Atlanta, spread quickly, adding pressure to Cleveland's front office to act decisively. Suddenly, what began as a rookie demanding respect evolved into a scenario with financial, strategic, and public relations consequences, forcing the organization to confront the full scope of its mismanagement before it's too late. The moment news of Shedeur Sanders' trade demand leaked, the public and media exploded. Sports networks lit up with debate, social media blew up with viral posts, and analysts scrambled to dissect every word, gesture, and implication of the Browns' internal chaos. This wasn't just a team controversy, it had become a national story. Analysts framed it as a clear case of organizational dysfunction, a warning to other franchises, and a potential turning point in how rookie quarterbacks navigate the modern NFL. The Browns were suddenly the epicenter of a storm no front office ever wants to face. Kevin Stefanski's press conference did little to calm the fire. When asked about Sanders' trade request, his responses were carefully scripted but betrayed him entirely. "We're not discussing hypotheticals. Shedeur is a Brown, and that's all I'm saying," he stated, voice tight and eyes betraying exhaustion. Observers immediately noticed the cracks in his composure, tension in his shoulders, a quiver in his voice, and body language signaling a man losing control. National analysts pounced. Shannon Sharp, speaking on First Take, didn't hold back. "You don't bench talent like Shedeur Sanders and expect him to sit there forever. He wants to win. Cleveland's wasting him." Stephen A. Smith went even further, labeling the situation organizational malpractice and questioning whether Stefanski had the flexibility to coach a modern quarterback in today's NFL. Social media was equally unforgiving. Fans flooded platforms with posts dissecting the confrontation, criticizing the Browns' coaching philosophy, and expressing frustration over what they saw as a repeated pattern of mismanagement. One viral post captured the mood perfectly. "If Cleveland can't appreciate Shedeur Sanders, 20 other teams will. Don't waste his prime on a coach with an ego." Another comment succinctly summarized fan sentiment. "Stefanski broke the locker room." Shedeur didn't quit. He's escaping. Within hours, these conversations dominated Twitter, Reddit, and fan forums, generating unprecedented attention for a rookie quarterback who had barely taken a professional snap.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button.
The media frenzy didn't stop at commentary. Sports networks conducted round-the-clock analysis, dissecting Sanders' talent, Stefanski's decisions, and the broader implications for the league. Former players weighed in, criticizing the Browns' developmental approach, defensive scheme priorities, and coaching ego that prevented a franchise-caliber talent from thriving. Every element of the situation was scrutinized, from practice rep distribution to front office communication failures, from locker room chemistry to leadership credibility. Sanders' composure and clarity in his confrontation were contrasted against Stefanski's unraveling authority, creating a compelling narrative that kept viewers engaged across multiple platforms. Meanwhile, league insiders confirmed the trade demand had caught the attention of other teams immediately. Rumors circulated that the Denver Broncos, Las Vegas Raiders, and Atlanta Falcons were already exploring trade possibilities, preparing packages to acquire a franchise quarterback without giving up traditional draft capital. Every statement from the Browns, front office and coaching staff was analyzed for hidden meaning, feeding speculation and keeping fans, media, and executives glued to every development. The reaction was unanimous. This was no ordinary rookie-coach conflict. It was a public display of trust lost, authority questioned, and organizational failure laid bare. Sanders had shifted the narrative entirely, controlling the story through his actions, while the Browns scrambled to contain a fire that was spreading far beyond their walls. What began as a private confrontation had now erupted into a national spectacle, and the fallout was only beginning. Inside the Browns' facility, the aftermath of Sanders' confrontation with Kevin Stefanski was palpable. The tension didn't stay confined to the coaching office. It spread through the locker room like wildfire. Players reportedly wandered the hallways in stunned silence, processing what they had just witnessed. A generational talent standing up for himself, and a coach losing control in front of the entire team. Veteran players recognized the significance immediately. They knew this was more than a heated argument. It was a breaking point that could shape the season, the franchise, and Sanders' career. According to insiders, teammates began quietly rallying around Sanders. Private conversations revealed a mix of admiration and fear. Admiration for the young quarterback's courage and clarity, and fear for the potential fallout if the situation wasn't managed carefully. Players expressed support in hushed tones, fully aware that any public commentary could exacerbate the situation. One veteran reportedly told ESPN anonymously, "Everybody respects him. He's handled this better than any of us would, but we all know he deserves starting somewhere." That single statement encapsulates the delicate balance of loyalty and frustration brewing within the locker room. But support for Sanders was not just emotional, it was tactical. Veterans understood that allowing a star quarterback to be stifled by a coach unwilling to adapt could compromise the entire team's competitive prospects. Players began weighing their own positions and relationships, deciding where allegiances lay in a suddenly divided environment. Chemistry, a crucial component for any team's success, started showing cracks almost immediately. The once unified locker room was now split along subtle lines. Those who trusted Sanders, talent and leadership versus those who felt compelled to back the coach despite obvious mismanagement. The fractures extended beyond personal loyalties. Leadership dynamics shifted overnight. Coaches who had previously commanded unquestioned authority now faced a locker room that was quietly questioning their judgment. Conversations during practice sessions, informal huddles, and even hallway encounters carried unspoken tension. Observers described the environment as teetering on the edge, with every decision, play call, and public statement analyzed for signs of weakness or allegiance. Even small gestures, a glance, a comment, a reaction to a play, were magnified in a locker room already under intense scrutiny. Adding complexity, the media storm outside the building only heightened internal divisions. Players were acutely aware that every reaction, every subtle expression, could be captured, analyzed, and turned into headline fodder. This created pressure not just to choose sides, but to manage appearances carefully while navigating a rapidly escalating crisis. The Browns' internal landscape was no longer just about football. It had become a test of loyalty, judgment, and the ability to survive in a fractured environment. Ultimately, the locker room divisions revealed a deeper truth about the Browns' organizational culture. Talent alone wasn't enough to unify the team. Trust, clarity and competent leadership were equally critical. Sanders' confrontation exposed weaknesses that had long existed, but were now impossible to ignore. The stage was set. Generational quarterback talent on one side, a coach struggling to maintain authority on the other, and a locker room caught squarely in between. How this division would affect the season, the front office, and the Browns' long-term trajectory was anyone's guess. But one thing was clear. The team's internal unity had been fundamentally shaken, and the ripple effects were only beginning. As the Browns' internal storm escalated, owner Jimmy Haslam reportedly stepped in personally, signaling just how serious the situation had become. Sources say Haslam convened an emergency meeting with Kevin Stefanski and general manager Andrew Barry, demanding immediate explanations and exploring every possible solution to salvage the rapidly deteriorating scenario. According to insiders, the atmosphere in that meeting was tense, electric, and at times explosive, an unmistakable sign that leadership recognized the stakes were higher than they had ever imagined for a training camp controversy. The Browns' front office found themselves navigating uncharted waters. Sanders' trade demand wasn't just a player upset with his coach. It was a public declaration that trust between talent and leadership had been irreparably damaged. Reports suggest Haslam questioned how the organization allowed a rookie to reach this point, probing the decision-making hierarchy, communication protocols, and overall leadership structure. Sources claim he was particularly frustrated that months of underlying tension had been ignored, leaving the team vulnerable to a meltdown that could dominate headlines and destabilize the locker room. Analysts observing the situation noted that the crisis highlighted structural weaknesses beyond just Sanders or Stefanski. For years, Cleveland had struggled with quarterback development, draft strategy, and coaching adaptability. Now, these issues were playing out in real time, exposed for the entire league and the public to scrutinize. The emergency meeting reportedly focused on whether Stefanski possessed the flexibility to manage a modern quarterback, whether the front office miscalculated his ability to adapt, and whether immediate intervention could repair the fractured trust before the situation became unmanageable. Inside the meeting, sources say frustration was palpable. Haslam allegedly challenged both the coach and the general manager on why clear lines of authority, effective communication, and contingency planning had failed. The pressure wasn't just about Sanders' trade request. It was about maintaining credibility, stability, and competitive viability. Every decision had potential ripple effects: alienate a generational talent, erode fan confidence, or risk league-wide scrutiny. Multiple insiders describe the tension as a front office under siege, forced to navigate a delicate balance between salvaging a player relationship and preserving authority structures that had already shown signs of collapse. Meanwhile, the media and public perception added urgency. Every day Sanders remained dissatisfied, every report leaked or interpreted intensified the crisis. Analysts emphasized that the Browns were confronting a scenario few teams had experienced: a rookie quarterback leveraging talent, family influence, and public perception to force organizational action. The stakes were not just short-term. Mishandling the situation could have long-term consequences, potentially costing the franchise years of growth, draft capital, and credibility in developing future stars. Ultimately, Haslam's intervention marked a critical pivot point. The emergency meeting demonstrated that the front office recognized the severity, but it also underscored the depth of dysfunction. Trust already fractured, authority questioned, and organizational systems strained under unprecedented pressure. The Browns faced a brutal reality. No amount of public relations or careful messaging could instantly repair the damage. Sanders had made his position clear, the coach had shown inflexibility, and the owner was forced to confront a crisis that went far beyond football plays. The front office scramble was underway, but insiders warned that time was not on Cleveland's side. From Shidor Sanders' perspective, the situation goes far beyond frustration with coaching. It's about a profound sense of betrayal. Sources close to the quarterback say he doesn't feel merely disappointed or sidelined. He feels actively undermined by the very organization that promised him trust, development, and opportunity. This isn't a rookie complaining about reps or strategy. Sanders reportedly believed in the Browns' stated intentions, trusted their coaching staff, and expected his talent to be recognized and maximized. Instead, he watched as repeated decisions contradicted those promises, eroding faith in leadership and leaving him questioning the team's commitment to winning. Insiders stress that the language Sanders used matters. The word betrayed has been specifically cited in discussions with those close to him. Unlike frustration, which implies temporary annoyance, or disappointment, which suggests unmet expectations, betrayal signals a fundamental breach, a deep fracture in trust that is difficult, if not impossible, to repair quickly. For Sanders, the breach isn't merely tactical, it's personal. It reflects a belief that the organization is prioritizing ego, rigid developmental timelines, and internal control over the clear, obvious readiness of a quarterback capable of transforming the franchise immediately. This erosion of trust has tangible consequences. Sources claim Sanders has reportedly lost faith not only in Stefanski, but in the offensive direction, the decision-making hierarchy, and the front office's ability to act decisively. Every practice, every game plan, every meeting now carries the weight of past contradictions, reinforcing the perception that promises mean little and action matters most. The quarterback's quiet demeanor and measured statements, insiders say, are deliberate, an indication that he is controlling the narrative, maintaining composure, and reserving his power for strategic impact. The ripple effect extends to the locker room. Teammates reportedly recognize Sanders' position, understanding the legitimacy of his concerns and quietly supporting him while navigating the complex dynamics with coaching staff. For a player of his age and experience, asserting this kind of control is unprecedented, particularly given his status as a rookie. Yet it highlights a shift in modern NFL dynamics. Players with elite talent, strong support systems, and public visibility now possess the leverage to demand respect, trust, and opportunity, or walk away. Speculation is already circulating among league insiders. Unless tangible changes happen immediately, not just promises, but verifiable adjustments, Sanders' next snap may occur in a completely different uniform. While Cleveland fans have seen this pattern before, the stakes feel higher than ever. A generational quarterback is at risk of slipping away due to organizational mismanagement, threatening to perpetuate a cycle of quarterback instability that has haunted the franchise for decades. Sanders' perspective underscores a critical lesson. In today's NFL, talent alone isn't enough to thrive. Trust, clarity, and alignment with leadership are essential. When these elements are fractured, even the most promising player can feel compelled to take decisive action. Sanders' ultimatum is more than a trade request. It's a statement, a declaration of agency, and a challenge to the Browns to either adapt or risk losing a once-in-a-generation talent before the season even begins. The Shedeur Sanders situation isn't just a Browns problem. It's a microcosm of a seismic shift occurring across the NFL. Modern quarterbacks are entering the league with unprecedented leverage, and Sanders' trade demand is a prime example of how power dynamics are changing. Gone are the days when rookies simply endured passive developmental plans or accepted being benched without question. Today, elite young quarterbacks are equipped with talent, support systems, and media influence that give them the ability to shape their own careers, often forcing organizations to react rather than dictate terms. Sanders embodies this new era. He isn't just a generational talent on the field, he's also a calculated presence off it. His family network, public visibility, and branding amplify his influence, ensuring that every statement, every action, and every decision receives national attention. Unlike previous generations, Sanders can control the narrative, leveraging social media, selective information, and strategic silence to maintain advantage. League executives have reportedly taken notice, understanding that his leverage is hypothetical, it's actionable. Teams exploring trades are not merely evaluating talent, they are recognizing the potential to acquire a franchise quarterback without giving up typical draft capital. Sanders, position forces the Browns to consider the full consequences of inaction, exposing the limits of traditional organizational control. This shift has broader implications for NFL culture and front office strategy. Organizations are learning that talent management is no longer just about coaching acumen, practice reps, or offensive schemes. It's also about trust, communication, and flexibility. Coaches who cling rigidly to outdated development timelines or micromanage players risk losing not only the immediate talent, but also long-term credibility with the league's rising stars. The Sanders case serves as a cautionary tale. Elite quarterbacks now possess the ability to demand conditions that align with both their development and competitive aspirations, and teams unable or unwilling to meet these demands may find themselves at a disadvantage. Furthermore, Sanders' situation highlights the increasing importance of transparency and organizational alignment. Modern quarterbacks, particularly those with established family advisory networks and media awareness, are capable of amplifying internal disagreements to national attention, creating pressure that affects everything from locker room morale to trade valuations. For franchises like Cleveland, this means that missteps aren't just internal, they have real financial, reputational, and competitive consequences. A failure to adapt can reverberate across the league, signaling to other players and teams the boundaries of organizational patience and authority. The trend also emphasizes the role of player agency in shaping the NFL's future. Sanders' ability to assert control, challenge leadership, and demand action represents a turning point in how elite talent negotiates opportunity. No longer passive participants, quarterbacks like Sanders are active architects of their careers, using leverage strategically to ensure their prime years are spent in situations that maximize both performance and visibility. For the league, this could accelerate a new era of player empowerment, where organizations must balance coaching philosophy, development strategies, and talent retention with an acute awareness of public scrutiny and player influence. In short, the Sanders saga is bigger than Cleveland. It's a case study in the evolution of quarterback power, organizational accountability, and the shifting landscape of the modern NFL. The ripple effects are already being felt, and how teams respond could redefine relationships between elite talent and leadership for years to come. For Cleveland Browns fans, the Sanders situation represents a nightmare scenario that feels both familiar and unprecedented. Decades of quarterback instability, broken promises, and carousel-like mediocrity have conditioned supporters to expect disappointment. And now, just as the franchise seemed poised to break that cycle, they are confronted with the possibility of losing a generational talent before he ever takes the field in earnest. Sanders isn't just another rookie. He's a quarterback with the potential to transform the offense immediately, to reverse years of futility, and to finally give Cleveland the stability fans have longed for. Yet, organizational dysfunction threatens to undermine it all. The core of the nightmare lies in the collision between talent and leadership. Sanders has made his stance clear. He will not tolerate stagnation, micromanagement, or misplaced priorities. As Stefanski, by reports, has shown inflexibility, adhering to rigid coaching methods that fail to capitalize on Sanders' readiness. The front office scramble, while intense, underscores the depth of the misalignment. Ownership, coaching, and management are all trying to respond, but the damage is done. Trust has been shattered, authority questioned, and the locker rooms subtly divided. What should be a straightforward developmental plan has become a tinderbox, with every day threatening to ignite further conflict. The timing exacerbates the crisis. With the trade deadline approaching, each passing day intensifies the stakes. League executives and rival teams are already circling, recognizing a rare opportunity to acquire a franchise quarterback without the traditional cost. The Browns, meanwhile, are caught between salvaging a fractured relationship and avoiding a catastrophic trade that could be interpreted as desperation. Fans watch anxiously as every practice, press statement, and social media post is dissected for clues, creating an environment of scrutiny that compounds internal stress. What was meant to be a season of hope now feels like a countdown to potential disaster. Inside the facility, the effects are tangible. Locker room chemistry, critical for team success, is under strain. Teammates quietly pick sides, weighing loyalty, trust, and self-interest in a situation they didn't create. Coaches and management must navigate not just talent development but morale, public perception, and strategic messaging simultaneously. The Browns' historical pattern is eerily repeating. A talented quarterback arrives, mismanagement occurs, frustration builds, and the franchise risks long-term consequences. Sanders' case, however, is amplified by his skill level, media influence, and family support, making any misstep exponentially more visible and costly. Perhaps the most chilling aspect of this nightmare is its predictability. Browns fans have seen similar patterns unfold over decades, but the stakes feel higher than ever. A franchise finally acquires a quarterback who could immediately end years of disappointment, only to watch coaching rigidity and organizational dysfunction potentially drive him away. The scenario unfolding is not hypothetical. It is happening in real time, with every practice and decision scrutinized, every public comment dissected, and every day bringing the possibility of irreversible consequences. For Cleveland, this is more than a rookie-coach conflict. It is a stark reminder that organizational alignment, trust, and adaptability are as vital as talent. Sanders' presence could have marked the end of a long-standing quarterback curse. Instead, the Browns face the very nightmare they've feared. A generational talent slipping through their fingers, not for lack of ability, but because the organization failed to act in time. The Shedeur Sanders saga is more than a single player demanding a trade. It's a vivid illustration of how fragile organizational stability can be, even in professional sports. What started as a routine meeting escalated into a full-blown crisis that exposed cracks in leadership, communication, and trust. Sanders' ultimatum, delivered with calm clarity, laid bare the consequences of rigid coaching philosophies, inflexible management, and organizational misalignment. The Browns, a franchise long familiar with quarterback turmoil, now face a scenario that could reshape the team's trajectory for years to come. At its core, this story is about trust between player and coach, player and organization, and fans and management. Sanders' sense of betrayal is not rooted in ego or entitlement. It comes from witnessing repeated contradictions between promises and actions. For a young quarterback with generational talent, the stakes are enormous. Every practice, every snap, every decision carries the weight of his prime years, and he is unwilling to squander them under leadership that fails to recognize readiness and ability. The breach of trust, insiders suggest, may be irreparable. Unless tangible action occurs immediately, Sanders' next professional snap could happen elsewhere, leaving Cleveland fans to relive a familiar pattern of mismanaged quarterback potential. The fallout extends beyond Cleveland. Sanders' case underscores the evolving dynamics of the modern NFL, where elite young quarterbacks hold unprecedented leverage. Social media influence, family advisory networks, and public visibility have created a new paradigm. Players can assert control, shape narratives, and demand opportunities that align with both their development and competitive aspirations. Sanders is not simply navigating a personal conflict. He is a prime example of how player agency now intersects with organizational strategy, forcing teams to rethink traditional models of authority, development, and talent management. For the Browns, the stakes could not be higher. A generational talent is at risk of being wasted, not due to a lack of ability or effort, but because of a system that failed to adapt. Locker room chemistry is strained, media scrutiny is relentless, and front office decision-making is under intense pressure. Every passing day magnifies the consequences, as trade rumors swirl, rival teams prepare offers, and fans anxiously watch one of the most consequential stories in recent NFL history unfold. The organization's response, or lack thereof, will define not just the season, but the perception of Cleveland as a team capable of developing and retaining elite talent. And yet, amid the chaos, one truth stands clear. Sanders has seized control of his own destiny. He has made a calculated decision, demanding respect, opportunity, and the chance to maximize his potential. Whether he remains in Cleveland or moves elsewhere, his actions have already forced the league, the media, and fans to confront a new reality. The balance of power is shifting, and franchises that fail to recognize this evolution risk repeating mistakes that could define their future for years. In the end, the Sanders saga is a cautionary tale and a turning point. It's about talent, yes, but more importantly, it's about trust, leverage, and accountability. Cleveland faces a critical choice: adapt quickly, repair fractured relationships, and embrace the opportunities Sanders offers, or risk watching a once-in-a-generation quarterback slip through their fingers, leaving the franchise and its fans to grapple with another chapter of what might have been. The clock is ticking, the pressure is unrelenting, and the outcome will echo far beyond a single season.
If you enjoyed today's breakdown and want to keep up with all the drama, trades, and behind-the-scenes action in the NFL, then don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps this channel grow and lets us know you love this kind of content. And hey, don't keep it to yourself. Share this video with your friends, your group chats, or anyone who loves football as much as you do. The more the conversation spreads, the better it gets. Most importantly, if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap the notification bell. That way, you'll never miss when we drop fresh stories, wild rumors, or breaking updates that the mainstream media won't talk about.